Hello and welcome to another episode of Metpro Insights, a podcast dedicated to all things construction. Today I'm joined by Mike Holmes, our Product and Vendor Development Manager. And Mike, thanks for coming, first of all. Before we get into the topic of today, and just so people know they can trust what you're saying and it's not just a load of crap, can you tell us who you are, what your role is at Metpro?
Yes, certainly. Well, you mentioned Product and Vendor Development Manager as the title. I suppose it's exactly what it says on the tin. I deal with all new and developing products within the business and the suppliers that support that.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. So today, what we're going to be discussing is hot dip galvanizing and pre-galvanizing, and I suppose we'll start with galvanizing in general. But before we start getting into the technical stuff, the reason that we wanted to do this topic is actually it's because of customers. We've had a few customers recently asking which finish they should use, or we've been trying to offer guidance when we know a bit more about the project that it's going to be used on. So I think the best place to start is generally, what is galvanizing?
Well, galvanizing is a finish. It's a coating that can be applied to metal to offer protection. It's zinc based, and basically you apply it to the product. It's known as a sacrificial finish. So basically what it does is it sacrifices itself to protect the metal underneath it.
Right.
So if you're talking about hot dip galvanizing and pre-galvanizing, the two differences. Well, mainly hot dip galvanizing is used for product that has already been fabricated. It's already had the work done to it, and it's in its shape and it's finished. And then that would be dipped into a zinc-rich fluid and drawn out and dried off. And then it has a coating applied to all surfaces of the product. In contrast to that, the pre-galvanizing, that's done at the very start of raw materials. So usually in sheet form, something like that, where the sheet form is passed through zinc fluid and comes out the other side. But with that process, obviously that's applied to the sheets and the raw material, which then go off and can be to produce varying different things. But once you start cutting it, once you start changing the shape of that, obviously those cut areas are exposed areas and don't have any zinc finish on them.
Okay then, so with pre-galvanizing, you apply the finish before it's in its final form. Hot dip galvanizing, this zinc-rich finish is applied once the product is complete.
Correct.
What are the benefits of these different finishes then? So take hot dip galvanizing. Why would you use that over pre-galvanized?
Okay, well, hot dip galvanizing offers a thicker finish, a much thicker finish. So as I mentioned earlier on, it's a sacrificial finish. So the zinc finish erodes over years. So if you've got a thicker finish on, it would stand to reason that that would last as a longer finish. So for instance, hot dip galvanizing, you would expect anywhere between 45 to 85 microns applied to the product generally.
Right.
And it's a much thicker finish, and therefore you could use that certainly in outdoor environments. It's used in sort of salt areas as well, so coastal environments, that sort of thing. It would offer protection in those areas as well. Pre-galvanizing, from a thickness point of view, it's a much more uniform finish applied because of the processes done with the raw material. But you would expect somewhere between 15 to 30 microns finish on that product. So it's less, and so obviously, again, it stands to reason that it would survive less than hot dip gal product. However, because you then go on to fabricate product from this sheet and the cropped areas are exposed, you are susceptible to potential corrosion in those areas.
Right.
And that's why on pre-galvanized product we would always talk about internal applications and that kind of thing, and avoiding areas where moisture and corrosion could grow.
Okay. And just for the purposes of anybody listening who, and if whoever is listening, forgive us if we're teaching you to suck eggs, but can you just very quickly explain microns for anybody that might not know?
Yeah, micron thickness is purely just literally a measurement, but in decimal places of millimeters.
Right.
And just so basically, for instance, 45 microns would be 0.045 millimeter.
Right. Okay. And then with Metpro product, then do our on our steel conduit tube, our accessories, our bracketry range, do we fall within those ranges, or do we set a minimum micron thickness we'll allow? How do we maintain that?
Well, we do constant maintenance of the accessories when they come into us. You're starting to get into a slightly different ruling there, because obviously all those products come under the British Standard 61386.
Right.
And so there are tests within that standard for corrosion resistance, and all Metpro conduit products meet the highest standard Class 4 within that.
So that's an interesting point, because what is Class 4? Because unless I'm wrong, you can get Class 3, Class 2. We're talking exclusively now about conduit tube, aren't we?
We're talking about conduit tube and conduit accessories,
yes,
as well. Within that standard is all about conduit.
Right.
And it covers all the aspects of the products. And one part of that is the corrosion resistance. And so within that standard, they've put a classification together, and there are certain tests done to apply to product for them. It measures how long they can resist for. Now, within that, the Class 4 classification is the highest of them, and hot dip galvanized product meets that.
Okay.
And so I don't want to confuse things here. Class 4 is an indication of corrosion resistance within that standard.
Right.
Okay. Hot dip galvanized meets it.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Understood. And then when it comes to identification, because I know that they're very similar surface coatings, and when you look at them, you might not know right off the bat, but what's the quickest way for somebody to identify hot dip galvanized versus pre-galvanized? And also, because sometimes it's not just on the visuals. Obviously, you might have certain markings which identify it as well, which I press would just say hot dip galv.
Not really markings as such. From an aesthetic point of view, pre-galvanized sheet, because of the process it goes through, offers a much more uniform finish to it. So it's smoother, it's much more attractive to look at, and obviously because it's got a zinc base in it, it has a brightness to it. The same can be said of hot dip galvanizing, but because it's been dipped into zinc fluid, when it's drawn out, obviously it will sort of gather in certain areas, so you can see some undulations maybe on the finish at times, certainly around joint areas, that sort of stuff. You'll know, you can feel and see the thicker finish on it.
Yeah, I've always thought pre-galv is a much smoother feel.
Absolutely.
Consistently across the product.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Mick, I think I certainly hope that we've, you have provided enough information there so people have taken away from that, learned a bit more, understand the differences now a bit clearer. But if anybody's listening, the tens of people listening, if you do have any further questions or anything like that, you can always contact our team. All the information is available on our website, metpro.co.uk. Myself and Mick are both on LinkedIn. You can always connect with us there. And like I said, the team are here to help if you've got any further queries. And we'd also say as well, because this has come from customer requests doing this topic, if there's anything else that people want us to cover, then send us an email, give us a call, and we'll certainly look to add it onto the schedule. So Mick, thanks again for joining me. Been a pleasure. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.